Are they here?
Good evening. I'd like to reconvene the meeting of Community Unit School District 300 Board of Education on this Tuesday, September 25th, 2018. Mr. Fiorentino, please call the roll.
Mr. Stevens. Here. Dr. Scarpino. Ms. Miller.
Present.
Ms. McNicholas.
Present.
Ms. Lopez. Ms. Garcia.
Present.
Fiorentino, present.
Okay. I want to let parents, we have a good crowd here for between our Pledge of Allegiance and our long-term teacher recognition. So parents, please, and visitors, please feel free to take pictures from anywhere in the room as long as you don't block someone else from taking pictures. Mr. Hyde.
Madam President, I know we haven't gotten to the point of the approval agenda, but I do have to ask also, we were informed that the Blue Ribbon Society members would not be able to be present this evening due to a conflict, possibly weather-related, possibly other issues, but they have asked if they could reschedule, and we graciously said yes before the meeting. So
Okay, that's
I
fine.
needed to apprise you of that.
I will make
as
a
well.
note. Thank you.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
when we have the approval of the agenda, we'll take care of that. Great, thank you.
At this time, Madam President, members of the board, members of the community, and staff, thank you for being here this evening. I'd like to bring in Ms. Martina Smith, principal from Meadowdale Elementary School, who is here with her students to lead. Oh, I keep looking. I'm always used to you being at the door. Who is here to lead us this evening in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. I have some of the most responsible community members of Meadowdale School here with me tonight. Landon Poveda, Milena Dominguez, and our color guard, Alexander Sanchez, Josie Wybe, Christian Malion, Diego Ruiz, and Joshua Guerrero. Thank you very much.
Gave me goosebumps. Well done.
That's great.
I guess so.
Okay, I have two changes on the agenda. We are going to take off 8.2, the Blue Ribbon Society. That will be at a later date. And we are also going to remove under Superintendent's Report, item 10.1. That will be at a later date as well. With those two changes, I would and item number 17 is a second closed session, and that is not needed, so that will be removed from the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda
moved.
as amended.
Second.
Mr. Fiorentino, please call the roll.
Fiorentino, aye. Stevens.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
McNicholas.
Aye.
And Miller.
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Okay. Okay, good evening. We are opening, so in tonight's meeting, we have a hearing within our meeting, and it's our hearing on the budget. So this is our public hearing. We are opening the public hearing for the 2018-2019 budget. Ms. Harkin will provide a brief overview on the 2018 budget. Mrs. Harkin.
Yes, thank you. Board President Miller, board members, Superintendent Hyde, community members, and staff. We're here to finish up the budget for FY 18-19. As we've done in the past, I'm going to go through it briefly, but I want to remind people this is a very long process that we work closely with the Board Finance Committee. We've gone through various steps. We did approve a tentative budget or review a tentative budget with budget requests in early May that really kind of drove where we are today. We'll be asking you later in the meeting to vote on the adoption of the 2018-19 budget, and per state statute, we will file the budget by September 30th as well, too. Part of the reason why we're already in the school year and we're looking at the adoption of the budget, we don't get our state revenue final numbers until late August, and so a lot of that impacts this process, and then the state's aware of those pieces, and so we're following the time that's established by the state as we move forward. Budget development, we share with you that we start last year's budget and actual figures, and we increase them based upon various parameters. I'm not going to read these. These have not changed since the last time we got together. But we increase our revenues based upon various assumptions. We increase our expenditures based upon various historical assumptions, and that is what leads us to building our final budget. As you recall, we did receive additional funding for the evidence-based funding model. Many of this year's budget requests, or most of them, are aligned to the evidence-based funding. We are to use those dollars to support our students in evidence-based funding ways. Our process is to gather information from our various buildings and our administrators, and then Mr. Hyde reviews those, and we work as a collective administrative team to develop a list of those budget requests that we believe will be the most impactful to improving student outcomes. Interesting, I just presented on the evidence-based funding at our national conference for school business officials. I presented state funding for 5 states, and when I realized and looked at it, if the state were ever to fully fund the evidence-based funding, we would be $99 million more in revenue for our school district. And I thought that was really a wonderful number to dream for. I'm very happy that we had $4 million this year. So Mr. Hyde, if we get to that point, you can do amazing things for our students, and I'm really looking forward to that date.
Yes, ma'am.
They're broken down into making sure we've got adequate staff that we do to support based upon staff that we know makes the greatest difference for our students and how we can improve outcomes for them. We also have supplemental programming that are where our students maybe need, beyond the traditional learners, some additional supplements that will help them be successful. We broke out that to make sure we've got students getting all of the various needs based upon their individual needs. We also did add some additional security and central office requests. There was one change that we put up there, but overall everything's been factored into the budget to make sure that we can properly support, fund, and provide exceptional education with the limited resources we do receive. So overall, I did break this slide out a little bit different since the last time I presented it to at the budget hearing, tentative budget, I apologize. We do look at our funds in 3 separate buckets. First is our operating fund. What does it cost to educate our students on an annual basis that occur no matter what? And by state statute, we break it into 6 different buckets: education, O&M, transportation, Social Security, IRF, tort, and our working cash fund. We're anticipating to receive about $266 million to support those endeavors. We also then have our expenditures, and between our expenditures and our transfers, we're looking at about $264 million with a $1.3 million revenue over expenditures, and that's certainly our cushion. Certainly a lot of things can happen throughout the school year, and we certainly have some costs that we don't have in control, and on almost a $300 million budget, that's a pretty small margin for us that we have left over, but we do have a balanced budget where our revenues have exceeded our expenditures. So we do have our operating funds, we have our debt service and our capital projects fund. Those funds aren't commingled, they run separately. Debt service money comes in from our tax levy to help support our debt payments, and that's money in, money out. Revenues for that's about $27.8 million, and our capital projects revenue is about $6.4 million, with $5.4 million of that coming from our EDA. This is the first time our budget will be at $300 million in revenue. We are a large school district with large needs. If we had $99 million, we'd be at $400 million. So it's something to dream for, board. Overall, then, we talked about our education fund with a slight $1.3 million revenue over expenditures. Again, the dollars come in for our debt service. Money comes in, comes out. We receive our taxes. We pay our debt service payments. Those are wrong titles up there, Anthony. I'm really sorry. Our last column on there is from the total. It says IMRF should be total. The column that says transportation should be our capital projects fund. We will have slightly $3 million for future projects based upon how the funding will flow. Overall, between all funds, we would be at about $4.3 million, and again, $3 million of that is for future capital project needs. Again, we'd like to highlight, we've got to keep a close eye on things that are happening out from our district finances. My understanding right now is the state budget's got a $1 billion shortfall, but I've been just released recently in the news that they will be releasing the last set of categoricals from last year, which is right about the time that they should do it, which goes that they are operating and funds are flowing and in a timely manner. There was at one point in time that this distribution of funding didn't get received till after December. So while there's certainly some concerns, funds are continuing to flow from the state, and certainly there's a big discussions and certainly hopefully something that will be tackled in the next general session for the state is that there's this pension payment ramp, and certainly that could impact the school district and the future revenue flows to the district, and we're just keeping an eye on that. We'll monitor the pension penalty of anything over 3% in final years of increases to teachers. That'll be something we'll keep on our radar, certainly constantly looking at potential property tax freeze and certainly serious EDA funding going concerns. We believe we've mitigated that piece of it just from the standpoint that those funds are currently sitting in our capital projects fund. We have plenty of capital projects fund needs, but certainly it won't impact our operations from a day-to-day perspective should something happen with the funding that we're receiving from Sears. Just as a reminder, these slides were in the last one. This is our state funding per student compared to the state of Illinois. The blue chart up there and bar up there is the state funding. The red is our bar, how much we spend per student. We have consistently spent less than the state average, even though our school district is very diverse. For the last fiscal year when the information was received from the state of Illinois, there's a website that calculates all of this information that is provided, and that there's a link for it if you would like to see that piece, but we spent about $2,000 less than the state average. When we look at ourselves in comparison to our Kane County unit districts, again, this information comes right off the state ISB website. We spend lower than anybody in our surrounding school district area. Again, if we got that $99 million, we probably could get closer, but we do really well with the resources we're provided. Our tax rate is the red bar that's up there, and this is compared to our Kane County unit school districts, and we aren't the lowest, but we're certainly one of the lowest out there. Again, this is much information that's been presented to you consistently. As Mr. Hyde likes to say, we present about the finances and the district budgets quite frequently, but we follow the school code that requires us to hold these hearings, provide your input along the process with the board finance and the board, and later on in the meeting we'll be asking you to vote on the authorization of the 2018-19 budget.
Thank you. As Mrs. Harkin noted, we will be voting on the approval of the 2018 budget later in the meeting under roll call items. At this time, we have one person who has signed up to speak regarding the budget, and then I will ask if there are any other comments. Mr. Mike Tennis? And the same rules apply. State your name, address, limit your comments to 5 minutes. I will pass these on down. Thank you.
My name is Mike Tennis. I live at 303 Churchill Court in Sleepy Hollow. Based on tentative budget information on August 14th, you were requested to amend expenditures by $4.9 million to offset the exclusion of $2.9 million of EDA revenue and balance the $2 million unbalanced budget. When comparing the tentative budget of August 14th to the proposed budget you have this evening, you will note several changes not clear to me during the recently attended Finance Committee meeting. Budgeted revenues have increased $9.9 million, or 3.1%, to $300.3 million, and budgeted expenses have increased $3.6 million, or 1.2%, to $296 million. The good news is the proposed budget is no longer unbalanced and now proposes revenues will exceed expenses by $4.3 million. The changes over the past 6 weeks result in a net improvement of $6.3 million. Given these changes, consideration by the board should be given to adopting a more conservative budget, reducing revenue risks, as well as operating and capital spending to avoid a budget shortfall and spending levels that taxpayers could view as excessive. Revenue, risks, and utilization. Number one, in the tentative budget, EDA revenue was presented at $2.9 million, and the proposed budget increased EDA to $5.4 million. In the past 48 hours, the CEO of Sears has proposed an out-of-court restructuring to avoid bankruptcy. For unsecured creditors like District 300, as I understand the proposal, the unsecured could be looking at 22 cents on the dollar over an extended period. Consideration should be given to excluding the $5.4 million in EDA revenue. Point two, in the tentative budget, capital outlay expenditures was presented at $11.4 million, and the proposed budget increased capital expenditures to $11.9 million, or a $500,000 increase. Consideration should be given to deferring $3 million to help offset the unlikely receipt of EDA funds during the fiscal year. Excessive expenditures. Point one, expenses last year were $277 million. Now the district wants to spend $296 million, an increase of $19 million, or 6.9%, even though enrollment is increasing nominally. Point two, in the tentative budget, expenditures were $292.4 million, and the proposed budget increased spending plans $3.6 million, primarily salaries. Proposed salaries of $146.2 million exceeds the last fiscal year salaries of $137.4 million by $8.8 million, or 6.4%. Given that the district already moved forward with the employment of an additional 108 personnel and that school has been in session for over a month, to reduce salaries, consideration should be given to adopting a hiring freeze for all personnel outside the classroom. Attrition should help align salary growth more in line with enrollment. Consideration should be given to trimming salary growth by $2.4 million, reducing salary growth to $6.4 million, or 4.7%. If turnover is unlikely to reduce the salary increase by $2.4 million, consider scaling back the excess revenue over expenses. In summary, amend the proposed budget, decreasing revenues $5.4 million and offsetting the revenue loss with $5.4 million and reduce spending via attrition, deferring some capital expenditures until next fiscal year, and scaling back the excess of revenue over expenses. On behalf of taxpayers, thank you for considering amending the proposed budget.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Okay, at this time then, We're now going to close the budget hearing. That was timely. All right. Mr. Hyde.
Madam President, members of the board, members of the community, and staff, it is always a sad moment when we have to share information regarding the passing of a D300 family member. Most recently, as of Thursday, we lost one of our HMS employees as a result of a tragic accident and resulting medical issue. Ms. Barbara Taylor had been an employee with District 300 for over 21 years. Most importantly, her last 11 years were at Hampshire Middle School. Having been on campus with pretty much everybody from central office to provide support and intervention and counseling and assistance, and I'm looking out amongst the audience, I see a lot of the faces for those individuals who were there. First and foremost, thank you. I can tell you that just an incredible outpouring of emotion and support and recognition for a woman who was viewed as a strong mentor, role model, colleague, mother, and wife. Got the pleasure of meeting her family on Friday to help them discuss some of the logistics in regards to what transpired and next steps. I'm pleased we're able to assist them, but it is, again, it's a very sad moment that we lose someone. I'm very proud of the fact that the school, we were fully prepared. This accident happened at the start of the school day, as the board knows. We were fully prepared to not have staff be able to return to classrooms because they were very distraught, rightfully so. And we were going to provide as much coverage as we could. I could cover science classrooms. And we knew that some classes would not have coverage because counselors and other support staff needed to be with students and with staff to help them deal with their loss and their grief and their emotions. So we were prepared to put students in the gymnasium knowing that it was no longer a normal day and that there was no way for us to operate as a normal day and no real expectation that we should, quite honestly, considering what everybody was going through. And I will tell you, I am incredibly proud of everyone involved, that they were able to return to their classrooms because their first concern and priority were their students. And that says a lot about our community. It says a lot about our employees and what they're willing to commit to support our students. So again, if you'll join me in a moment of silence, and then at the end of that, I will share some of the details regarding the memorial. Once again, she began her employment in 1984 as a substitute teacher. In 1998 to 99 through 06, 07, she was a physical education teacher at Eastview Elementary School. I see Mr. Zerson in the back. From 07 on, she was a physical education teacher split between Eastview and Gulfview Elementary School. And then she was also physical education teacher, as I shared, for 11 years at Hampshire Middle School, beginning in 08, 09. Coaching, she was a coach for girls basketball and girls volleyball. And prior to asking you to join me in a moment of silence, I want to share, there was a video that was posted not too long ago as well. Her volleyball team played a game tonight and won and dedicated the game to Ms. Taylor. And there's video of that, and we'll post that later. But again, very proud of those students. They took it very hard, as did many of the graduates who were at the high school. I apologize. She is survived by her two children, Joshua and Nicole, and her husband, James. So if you'll please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Specific to the details, we have published these and shared them with the local media as well as with the community. Her viewing will be held Saturday at Hampshire Middle School from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. The viewing, we do urge some caution and at least some information that it will be an open casket. So young families with younger students may want to take the opportunity to discuss the open casket and what that might mean and be prepared for their child's initial reaction. However, the family will position themselves in a manner that they will be able to receive visitors without having to view the casket up close. In lieu of flowers, they are asking that donations be made in Barb's honor to the Hampshire Youth Athletics Program or St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Services and interment will follow on Sunday. The family will host funeral services at Hampshire Middle School at 1 p.m. On September 30th, with the burial to follow. The burial is open to the public, and it will be held at Hampshire Center Cemetery, and then the family and guests may return to Hampshire Middle School for a brief reception. And additional information regarding her obituary and other comments are available online. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde. Moving on, item 8.1.
So this is probably the worst transition ever.
Yeah.
And I'm so sincerely apologetic to everybody else. I would go from one swing of the emotions to the other. You know, since I have arrived, we've really tried as a district to really embrace employees for, again, sincerely for their commitment to excellence in all that they do when they go above and beyond, and the hours that they put in the service and support that they provide when no one's looking. I mean, they are the epitome of people who do the right thing when no one is looking and no one else is around because it's the right thing to do and they're truly committed. Last year, I shared, for our 30-year employees, I shared, kind of a history of, for some, what education looked like 30 years ago. No cell phones. There was note passing back then, right? It wasn't text messaging in the classroom. I'm not going to do that to you. What I am going to do is share with you just an absolute celebration of what 30 years in our employment means. It means literally thousands of students that you've come in contact with and that you've helped improve their outcome. And there are so many students that reflect back on their interactions with you, and you get these messages more frequently than I do, but parents that reach out, community that reaches out, students that reach out to say thank you for your commitment and helping them and helping make a difference. And you know that. You can think of students and families that you've come in contact throughout your tenure in District 300 that you absolutely know give you incredible credit for putting their children and even their family at times on the right track. And for that, we want to thank you. 30 years of service and commitment in public education it's definitely a calling. It's been a long road. It's a tough one, but we are so proud of you. And more importantly, I'm proud that you choose D300 to be your home and your employer. Because again, all that you contribute to our community is very much welcomed and received well with open arms. And there's a great deal of respect for all of you. And I see that on social media and other places. So it is my honor this evening to celebrate our 30-year plus veterans. And so what I will do is ask that you come up. If you're joined by family or loved ones, if they would please stand and be recognized. No one goes into public education without a significant backing and support. When I first became a teacher in Sarasota County, Florida, a while ago, I only did so because my wife is a physical therapist and made probably 5 times what my salary was at the time. And I credit my wife with the fact that I could afford to be a teacher because my wife was making a much better income. And I know what level of commitment and support she provided and continues to provide as my spouse, as I've committed myself to public service. So for you and your guests and your loved ones, we want to thank them as well for continuing to support you and help you be successful in your role. At this time, when I call your name, if you'd please come up to the front so you can be recognized. We'll ask you to shake hands with the board members, and then we have this absolute glorious marble red apple that says District 300. It has a nice little message on the back. It's a small token of our appreciation for all that you've done and continue to do in support of our students. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Scott Burley from Algonquin Lakes Elementary School. And we just ask that you stay at the front to be recognized one more time at the end. Miss Kelly Burmeister from Gilbert's Elementary School. Mr. Vincent Calendo from Westfield Community School. Ms. Charlene Cross from the district office. Dr. William Bill Doran, district office. Miss Ellen Gross, Dundee Highlands Elementary School.
Dodge those bullets, didn't you?
Miss Lori Kendall Smith from Westfield Community School. Miss Amy Morrison, Eastview Elementary School. And Miss Sandra Volkening from Jacobs High School. So I know we took a group photo outside, but I know there's still some people in the audience here who would love to take more photos, so we'll give you a moment to do that.
And to the families that didn't stand up, we recognize you all. And I thought it was weird he asked you to stand up.
So while you're doing the pictures, I have a comment here to read from Mrs. Kopez, who was not able to be here tonight. She says she would like to extend her congratulations to the teachers who are being recognized for their 30 years of service. Of course, the teachers are always my passion, and my respect for them is endless, especially Mr. York, who I don't think he was here tonight, who I taught with him and is by far the very best teacher I have ever known in all my career of being in education. Thank you, and I'd like to pass on my respect and admiration to all of you, and congratulations. And I think that's very well said, and that reflects the board's sentiments as well. Thank you, and I do know if it wasn't for Mr. Doran, Dr. Doran, and Ms. Morrison, two of my children probably would not have done so well. So, thank you.
One more time, round of applause. Is there cake? There's always cake. Thank you also, Ms. Doran. There were 5 individuals who were not able to be here this evening. Corey Beelan, Stephanie Ramstad, Kara Rumatz, Catherine Stevenson, and Michael York. Mr. York was scheduled to attend this evening, but he is filling in for Miss Barb Taylor. He and another teacher have agreed to take on basketball and volleyball to support our students. So.
Okay. Okay. We have more good news if y'all wanted to stay and listen. But we'll go ahead and move on.
All right. District 300 is proud to announce that all 11 District 300 schools that house preschool programs have earned the Gold Circle of Quality Award through Accelerate Illinois, the state's quality recognition and improvement system for early learning and development programs. District 300 schools receiving the Gold Circle of Quality Award include DeLacy Family Education Center, Dundee Highlands Elementary School, Eastview Elementary, Gilbert's Elementary, Gulfview Elementary, Lake in the Hills Elementary, Lakewood Elementary, Liberty Elementary, Meadowdale Elementary, Perry Elementary, and Westfield Community School. Accelerate Illinois standards focus on early learning and development and place a high priority on instructional excellence, family services, staff qualifications, professional development, and program administration. Eligibility for the award requires schools to provide multiple forms of evidence to meet specific standards. For Preschool for All programs, evidence is obtained through monitoring visits conducted through the National Louis University's contract with the Illinois State Board of Education. During these monitoring visits, assessors collect evidence using the Early Childhood Environmental Rating Scale, 3rd edition, also known as the ECERS-3, and the ISBE Compliance Checklist. Each Preschool for All program site is awarded an Accelerate Circle of Quality based on its compliance and ECERS-3 scores. District 300 is incredibly proud of all of our preschool programs and our administrators, teachers, and staff and students who work long hours and put in great effort to ensure our programs are among the highest quality in the state. For more information about Accelerate Illinois, please visit www.accelerateillinois.com.
On Thursday, September 27th, Gulfview Elementary School will host the 13th Annual Community Resource Information Night from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. All District 300 families attending Gulfview Elementary, Lakewood Elementary, Meadowdale Elementary, Parkview Elementary, Perry Elementary, Carpentersville Middle School, and Dundee Crown High School are invited to attend. The goal of the Community Resource Information Night is to connect families with the District 300 community by building relationships with school, staff, and nonprofit organizations. Attendees can receive valuable information from over 35 community resources on topics such as healthcare, legal aid, housing, job offers, and more. The event will include a folkloric dance presentation, free food, and raffle prizes. For more information, please contact Rosie Conde at I'll spell it, rosalba.conde@d300.org. Thank you.
Jacobs Hall of Fame inductees of class of 2018. Jacobs High School recently held the 2018 induction ceremony for their Athletic Hall of Fame. This year's class included 6 inductees: Lauren Arsenault, Tim Donnelly, Brad Foote, Kathy Kowalski, Tom Miller, and Kate Trunka. Lauren Arsenault graduated from Jacobs in 2009. As a student athlete, Lauren focused on softball and earned all-area honors 3 out of 4 years, and all-state honors during her senior year. In 2008, Lauren led Jacobs to a regular season conference championship. After graduation, Lauren played softball at Loyola University in Chicago, where she earned a degree in biology. She was named Loyola's nominee for NCAA Woman of the Year in 2012, as well as the first team All Horizon League, ESPN the Magazine All District Academic Honor, and all newcomer team from the Horizon League. Lauren ranks among Loyola's all-time leaders in several categories, including runs scored, stolen bases, and home runs. Tim Danley graduated from Jacobs in 1987. He had a stellar high school wrestling career with a record of 102 wins and 13 losses in Greco-Roman wrestling. Tim was a two-time Illinois national team member and a top 12 finisher in the Junior Olympic Nationals in 1987. After graduation, Tim attended Drake University on a full wrestling scholarship. Brad Foote graduated from Jacobs in 2008. He excelled in track and field and was a state final qualifier in 2007. In 2008, Brad was the McHenry County meet champion in discus, setting a new meet record. Brad also qualified for the state finals and placed sixth in discus, earning all-state track and field honors. Brad attended Southern Illinois University, where he was a member on the Saluki track and field team. In 2017, Brad accepted a coaching position at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, a Division I track and field program. Brad is now focusing on building a nationally recognized program in Texas. Kathy Kowalski graduated from Jacobs in 1980. She participated in basketball, softball, volleyball, earning varsity letters in each sport for all 4 years. Kathy excelled in basketball and was the school's starting guard for 4 consecutive years, as well as the team's leading scorer her junior year. She continued her basketball career at Elgin Community College. Tom Miller was named athletic director of the new Jacobs High School in the fall of 1975. Jacobs would open in 1976. Working with the new administration and coaching staff, he built the foundation for a successful athletic program. Along the way, Tom became an IHSA official and continued coaching at Jacobs and Burlington Central High Schools. Tom continues to be a big supporter of the Jacobs High School athletic program. Kate Trinka graduated from Jacobs in 1978. During her career at Jacobs, Kate was named All-Conference for softball all 4 years. She was also named Female Athlete of the Year by the Cardinal Free Press. Kate received an athletic scholarship and went on to play Division I softball for Eastern Illinois University and made the tennis team as a walk-on during her sophomore year. Kate is recently retired public school teacher. Congratulations to the 2018 Jacobs High School Hall of Fame inductees.
That's pretty cool.
Sorry about that. Jacobs High School requests crafters for their craft fair. Jacobs High School Performing Arts Boosters are requesting crafters for their 6th annual Holiday Spectacular Arts and Crafts Fair. Interested crafters can email Laura McMahon for more information. Proceeds from the fair will support future endeavors of Jacobs Performing Arts and Musical students. The Holiday Spectacular Arts and Crafts Fair will be held on Saturday, November 3rd from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Jacobs High School. And if you're not a crafter, please attend and spend money. Thank you.
September 24th through 28th marks a national week-long campaign called Start with Hello. The Start with Hello campaign was started by the Sandy Hook Promise organization and is designed to help teach students to reach out and include those who may be dealing with chronic social isolation. No worries. There are young people who suffer silently in every school and in every community because they feel left out, alone, or invisible. Start with Hello Week is intended to help students start the back-to-school season and feel seen, accepted, and safe. To recognize the Start with Hello Week, District 300 staff and students will be encouraged to wear green on Thursday, September 27th to show support for those who lost their lives at Sandy Hook Elementary School in December of 2012. Start with Hello Week asks students and community members to reach out to individuals using a 3-step process. Step 1, see someone alone. This step helps students understand social isolation. Social isolation, identify and empathize with those who may feel socially isolated, and recognize the importance of connecting with others who feel socially isolated. Step 2, reach out and help. This step asks students to consider strategies for connecting with others. Step 3, start with hello. The final step provides methods that students can use to build lasting relationships relationships with others. During the Start with Hello campaign, District 300 students will participate in activities to reinforce these steps, including icebreakers, relationship builders, and team building activities. District 300 would like to thank our Education Services team for their hard work in organizing the Start with Hello campaign for the District 300 community.
October is National Bullying Prevention Awareness Month. During October, District 300 will participate in activities in conjunction with National Bullying Prevention Awareness Month. Next week, District 300 will send community members a message inviting them to raise bullying prevention awareness by wearing a blue shirt on Monday, October 1st, to participate in, quote, Blue Shirt Day, World Day of Bullying Prevention. That is very difficult to say, I'm sorry. Blue Shirt Day, World Day of Bullying Prevention. So wear your blue shirts on Monday, October 1st. Community members choosing to wear blue shirts are encouraged to email photographs showcasing their support to goblue@d300.org for District 300 to share on social media channels. The Education Services team has worked hard to develop Bullying Prevention Awareness Month activities that are appropriate for each grade level. At the elementary level, students will partake in theme days, including a pajama day to put bullying to sleep, a crazy sock day to sock it to bullying, a spirit word day to unite against bullying, and a Just Like Others day to stop bullying by working together. At the middle school level, schools will hold anti-bullying pledge signing events and have students brainstorm strategies to implement when confronted with different types of bullying. At the high school level, students will participate in numerous anti-bullying activities, including role-playing bullying scenarios, followed by debriefing discussions. District 300 will post photos of our Bullying Prevention Awareness Month activities on our social media channels throughout October. District 300 would like to thank our Education Services staff for their hard work organizing Bullying Prevention Awareness Month activities for all of our schools and students.
Thank you. A lot going on in the district. Mr. Hyde.
Yes, ma'am, Madam President, as you indicated with amending the agenda for this evening, we're going to postpone an update as far as the district's overall performance update for 2017-2018 until a subsequent meeting. But this evening I will review some of the plan options for boundary changes. Mr. Emerson is not available this evening, so I will take us through the presentation. Specific to this, if the board recalls that we provide in accordance with our procedures, the board was provided with all of the materials and some of the initial proposals that will go before the community. The board has provided 2 weeks in between the two meetings prior to providing us approval with moving forward with these 4 options. And again, this proposal for rezoning focuses on Hampshire Middle School boundary adjustment and draws into the conversation DMS, Dundee Middle School, and Gilbert's Elementary School. As a reminder, we're looking at overall rezoning based off need. We covered this at length at the last meeting, the CASARDA study, suspected growth, our projections as far as overall enrollment, and more importantly, our building occupancy / capacity drives the need for us to move forward with looking at different schools. We do categorize schools based off of what the CASARDA study and other factors provide us. They're either a scenario A, a scenario B, or scenario C. That tells us, again, as you see there, one's high growth, one's normal growth, one's low growth. For these, we're continuing to look at Hampshire Middle School. This is their projected enrollment, and by 2028, their overall capacity would exceed 100% or be at 113. So as we shared with you previously, I'm going to go through these options quickly and then provide the board one final opportunity to provide any feedback prior to authorizing us to schedule meetings with staff and within the community to gather feedback and share these proposals with them. Hampshire boundary option number 1 essentially takes the northern section off of 90 going west and draws that from the Gilbert's community and draws that into the DMS boundary. You see here how those numbers would be impacted. It draws 139 students. Again, as a reminder, it will not draw all students in year 1. It typically is a 2 or 3 year roll up when we see the impact. Boundary option number 2 is just the reverse of the initial one, where it takes the southern portion of the Gilbert's community and feeder pattern and assigns those students to Dundee Middle School instead of Hampshire Middle School. Option number 3 takes the railroad into consideration, and as you recall, when the rezoning committee or boundary committee looks at these, we look at geographic breakpoints as well. Rivers, lakes, in this case highways, and or specific to this option, the railroad track. You see there where we take a sliver of the Gilbert's community and draw those students over. Each one of these proposals has its individual strengths and weaknesses and or concerns. Option 4 is a comprehensive rezoning where it pulls the entire Gilbert's community over to DMS. This ultimately draws in 381 students, or approximately 130 students per year over a 3-year roll-up period. As the board requested last time, Mr. Stevens in particular had a question about the boundaries and said, if there's an option, we just want to carry forward with one option. Can we do that? My response, I still think, is correct. The board can direct me to do anything it wants to do. However, board policy is explicit that we will bring at least 3 to 5 options to our community. So these are the 4 options we currently have. I think each one reflects a concerted effort on behalf of the community or on behalf of the rezoning committee to take into consideration our existing procedures, limiting programmatic impact, maintaining the strongest continuity that we possibly can, maximizing our operational efficiencies. All of these proposals would have arguably a beneficial impact on transportation because now we're moving students closer to their zone school and wouldn't have the longer distances going west that we typically have. And right now with construction and some of these projects projected to last 2 or 3 years, anything we can do to help continue to maximize our efficiencies in transportation is very much welcome. So next steps, we would look at, again, with the board's approval, we bring these 4 projections forward. I will attend school-based meetings along with Mr. McGinn, Mr. Mora, Mr. Emmerson, representations from our 3 collective bargaining units, because again, to speak with staff, this would be after school at a voluntary faculty meeting where they can ask questions. There's going to be 2 questions, correct? I'm a parent of a student that may be affected by this. What does this mean for my child? Or they're going to ask a question, how does this in any way impact me or my employment in my current location? The only school that would see any impact to their overall employment that could be perceived as negative would be Hampshire Middle School, which regardless of the proposal, as they lose students, those jobs would not be lost, but those employees would be given, in accordance with our current contract language, an opportunity to be relocated to an alternative site, more specifically Dundee Middle School. Residential area boundary adjustment, we shared with you previously as well. There is an area, if you look here on the left, it is currently not reflected. Here it is reflected. This is the new development over by the Village Pizza or the Village, and it's largely industrial. It's south of DMS, and it's on the west side of Randall Road. It's going to be apartment complexes, and so we would propose that this be rezoned without any restrictions whatsoever at this time, because it is undeveloped property at this time, that we go ahead and include that in the Sleepy Hollow boundary at this time. So as I shared, you can provide feedback this evening. We'll start holding meetings beginning next week, either at school-based meetings or community meetings. Mr. Emerson is on leave this week, so we will not have any meetings. In addition to that, we wanted to be respectful of the board's option to provide us with any additional direction and or feedback. In November, I'll bring a final recommendation back to the board, as well as a summary of all of the collective feedback. I think this time we'll use a combination of tools to collect feedback, both written and submitted, but also electronic, to make sure that the board gets a comprehensive list of all of the concerns. To date, the primary concerns that I have heard expressed are pretty much limited to families that may feel or currently would be in a position where they might have children in 2 locations. So my 8th grader is going to want to stay at HMS. What does this mean for my 6th grader? And then that specifically leads into a question about transportation. As the board knows, because you've done this in this district prior to my arrival, we do not provide transportation for students that are grandfathered in. The transportation follows the new enrollment. So if I have an incoming 6th grader and they're going to be attending DMS, if they fall within the busing rules that we have established as far as distance from the school, or we deem a road that's within 1.5 miles to be dangerous or hazardous, Ms. Bordson and her team do an amazing job of identifying those examples. Those students would be bused. That, again, that's historically what's been done in the past. There are significant concerns if we were to just continue to try and provide busing for everyone. But there's also the option for interdistrict transfers. So a 6th grader could continue, but as we do with other transfers, but families would then have to provide their own transportation. So those seem to be the primary concerns that I've heard to date. I don't know how. I'm going to work with Mr. Emerson to pull the total number of families that would find themselves in that scenario so that we can provide you with that feedback as well. But that would be included in my final recommendation to the board. We'll also capture all of the initial concerns or questions that have arisen throughout the process.
Mr. Fiorentino.
So the feedback that you received so far, based, I guess, on the presentation at the last board meeting, what format was that? Was that emails to you? Was it?
No direct contact to me. So it's all been through social media. At times, my name has been posted. Frederick Hyde, what does this mean? And again, in our effort to continue the communication, the dialogue, and transparency, I do respond on there.
Okay.
So primarily social media, Facebook.
And at some point, they will then know, those people that are asking those questions or giving feedback will know that there will be public forums. I don't know what we're calling them, but there will be some public vetting process.
That is correct, multiples.
Excellent.
And so if they can't attend the one that would be held at their school, they would have an opportunity to attend another one at another neighboring school if it was more conducive to their family schedule. Seeing no comment and no, is there any, Ms. Miller, may I ask if the board has any additional comments and or direction, or are these 4 options approved to move forward?
Yeah, I was just thinking, but I think I'm going to withhold my comments. Nothing that needs to be said now. Anyone else want to share comments or questions?
I would have liked to have seen it get down to 3, but barring that, I'm more than pleased with the work that we've done.
And I think all of DMS is bust, isn't it? Okay, so regardless of which scenario, whoever does go there in the new one, they would be bust. Okay, any other questions or comments? Then we can give Mr. Hyde and his staff then direction to go out to the public and see what comments we can get from them. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, moving on. We had no one else sign up for public participation. I don't think we had a legislative update. Anything, Mr. Hyde?
No, ma'am, not at this time.
Okay, item number 13, a motion to approve consent items less than $25,000.
Second.
Mr. Fiorentino, please call the roll.
Stevens.
Yes. Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Fiorentino, aye. McNicholas.
Aye.
And Miller.
Aye.
That's 5-0.
Okay, item number 14, consent items greater than $25,000. Motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Fiorentino, please call the roll.
Stevens.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
McNicholas.
Aye.
Fiorentino, aye. Passes 5-0.
Okay, item number 15.1. This is an employee resolution for termination. I will read this. Resolution of the Board of Education of Community Unit School District 300 authorizing dismissal. Whereas the Board of Education of Community Unit School District 300 has received a recommendation from the administration requesting the dismissal of Adam Hazel, a DESPA, D-E-S-P-A, employee previously discussed in closed session. And whereas this Board of Education herewith finds and determines that evidence shows that Mr. Hazel failed to meet the performance expectations of his position as a night custodian. Whereas this Board of Education herewith finds and determines pursuant to DESPA, DESPA, Agreement Section 18.1, the dismissal of Mr. Hazel is in the best interests of the district. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Community Unit School District 301. Mr. Hazel is hereby dismissed as an employee effective September 18th, 2018. Motion to approve? So moved. Second. Mr. Fiorentino, I'm sorry, anyone have any discussion? Mr. Fiorentino, please call the roll.
Stevens. Miller.
Aye.
McNicholas.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Fiorentino, aye. Passes 5-0.
Okay, item 15.2, motion to approve the 2018-2019 budget.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Fiorentino, can you call the roll?
Stevens.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Fiorentino, aye. McNicholas.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, item 16.1, any updates on committee reports? I know we had some,
No, it was discussed in closed session,
okay.
finance.
Anything more on construction and facility oversight?
No, I would say everything is in your packets. The only thing I want to highlight is our next meeting will be November the 5th. We did ask for the Kimball Farms homeowners, which was agenda item 3.2, to come in and present their donation, tree donation suggestion to the committee, as well as the principal of the school to also appear.
Okay, anything more from the boundary committee?
We did not meet since our last board meeting.
Okay, any other board comments or discussion items? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So move.
Mr. Fiorentino,
Second.
can you call the roll?
Stevens.
Aye.
Garcia. Miller.
Aye,
McNicholas.
Aye.
Fiorentino. 5-0.
thank you.